Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Down Unders. A very happy, exciting show because the Warriors are back playing this weekend and the Doggies have got the bye. So an extra 2 points for your boys. Brody, how you doing?
Good, brother. Gets kicked the feet up this week. 5-0. About to be 6-0. Can't complain.
Oh, bro, trust me. After the day that I've had, for people that don't know, my EPL, my soccer team is Arsenal. And we had a major win today, bro. I didn't actually get a touch on it, touch base with you on this or whatever. I know you don't care about soccer too much.
I was going to say, I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah. But we had a massive 3-0 win over possibly, I'd say, it's the biggest side in the world, Real Madrid, in Champions League for the first leg of the Champions League finals there. So really, really big win for Arsenal. A couple of really clutch moments. And it was such a crazy and amazing day. And I'm hoping that feeds into the Warriors beating one of the best teams in the NRL this weekend against the Melbourne Storm at Melbourne.
Take Coates' head off early, brother, so he doesn't burn you in the 80th minute. We don't want to repeat.
We do not want to repeat. We do not want to repeat. But guys, thank you so much for all coming through. Make sure, guys, this is a live stream, so feel free to jump in, chat your heart's content, and we'll try and get back to you guys during this stream as we go. But Jazz, good to see you in the chat, bro. Appreciate you guys you coming through, my man. We'll may as well touch on the first bit of news we have for this week, bro. And we'll also, mix that in with our thoughts over the weekend. But Zach Lomax breaking his foot, unfortunately, a minor fracture in his foot. Looks like he's going to be out for 6 weeks minimum for the Parramatta Eels after their really nice win over the weekend, a real clutch win. Zach Lomax, bro, how devastating is this for the Parramatta Eels after just getting over that hump for the first win? Still waiting on Mitchell Moses, but doing a very similar injury to Mitchell Moses. There's something in the water there at Parramatta.
Yeah, huge loss for Parramatta and the Blues, I'm going to say, in game one especially. Definitely adds a little bit of mix to their plans with both selected wingers off first cab off the rank, which is Toto and Lomax now being out. But yeah, for the Eels, finally get some momentum, get a win, then their match winner, gets injured, breaks his foot. So a lot of hurt for Parramatta. It'll be tough to go back to back now. And you feel for them because you could see that it meant a lot to them.
Yeah, touching on Parramatta, a really nice win over the weekend, 23-22, where they just didn't give up on the contest. And I think they've been building towards this. They had a really close game against your boys where your boys just choked him out throughout the contest. But they started to give a little bit of scares where people are going, okay, they're starting to show a little bit of fight. Shout out to Josh Adokar coming back in, showing a little bit of energy for the side. Zach Lomax really putting his heart out for every performance, as we just touched on just before. And a major moment, obviously, Zach Lomax kicking the field goal there with a broken foot. It's just incredible from what he's done. But Parramatta, what do you reckon they'll take from this first win against the Dragons? We'll touch on the Dragons a little bit later, but the Parramatta Eels, where do you see them at the moment? Do you still see them obviously just having a really bad struggling year, or do you think they'll get a lot of confidence from this and try to move into the weekend to get another win hopefully under their belt up at Darwin, which they do struggle to play at?
They'll take a lot of confidence. Don't get me wrong. You get the monkey off your back now. It's not so tense and the pressure's not so high to get a win. But as for carrying it on into this week, I don't see them being able to do that. Lomax has brought so much energy for them in the opening rounds. He tries his absolute ass off. So he's going to be missed. And I dare say that they're going to lack a lot of his presence and the energy he brings. I know Adokar's there bringing a lot of energy, but Lomax is such a key piece. So until Moses gets back or Lomax gets back or both of them get back, I don't see the Eels getting too many wins under their belt.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just one of those seasons at the moment for Parramatta. Not until Mitchell Moses comes back and we get to see how he looks and what he can elevate within the side. Just sucks we're going to miss out on that piece of, Mitchell Moses get back into the lineup, but Zach Lomax, which would probably been one of his better kicking options, right, for him to put a bomb up. Zach Lomax always chases every sort of kick that you put up in the air. It does suck that we're going to miss out on that overall. But a player I did want to touch on this game as well, that we'll be touching on players of the week or team of the week a little bit later on. But Isaiah Iongi, an incredible little performance that he's had here. Obviously scoring a try in this contest, setting up a couple, just like looking very slick out the back, running for 222 meters, the young fullback, going up against the old school veteran Parramatta Eels fullback in Gutho. Both incredible games, but your thoughts on Isaiah Iongi and how much he's growing into the season?
Yeah, look, I guess everybody kind of wrote him off. You know, there's been a bit of talent there, a little bit of show, but not a lot, not consistently.
Yep.
But to break into the NRL and then not only hold that level, but to warm up to that level takes a bit more than 5 games. So I guess he's
Mm.
finally starting to feel that and know what it takes to be in the NRL. And then he gets to improve on his game each week. And we're starting to see that come along nicely now.
And touching on the other man, just on the opposite side of the field, incredible game, incredible super coach
Mm,
game from Clint Gutherson, bro.
mm,
Um, just the energy, the work rate he brings for the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Just really unfortunate the Dragons have caught themselves in a situation a couple of times now where they should have came home with the victory. They were out with a decent lead. They're
mm.
14-8. I think it ended up getting to 20-8 at one point, and then Parramatta ended up bringing it home. Disappointing there for the Dragons. How do they fix up those sort of issues? Does that lay on the halves? Does that lay on, the forward pack? Where are you kind of sitting with the Dragons at the moment and how they can overcome sort of obstacles like that?
I couldn't tell you, brother. It's what we've seen from the Dragons for the last 3 years now in a row. It's just a
Mm,
consistency. They'll come out and beat Melbourne like they did last week, and then lose to a team like Parramatta that's low on
yeah.
confidence and trailing the bottom of the ladder. Um, Consistency, complacency, bit of
Mm.
all of the above. I really don't know. Um, yeah, your guess is as good as mine. They got enough leadership there in Gutho, Holmes, Cook, these
Yeah.
type of guys to that are the vets of the game and still couldn't pull together a 80-minute solid performance back to back, and
Mm.
it's burnt them. So I just don't understand what's going on there at the Dragons. Flanagan's a vet coach as well, so your guess is as good as mine, brother. If you could figure that out, I reckon the Dragons might call you up next week and get you in coaching, brother.
Well, that's what I was just about to say, bro. If we had the answer to that, like, Shane Flanagan, a premiership winning NRL
Mm,
coach, like he doesn't have the answer to that just yet at the moment. But, as you just touched on, the experience they have on their side, Clint Gutherson, even some players like Moses Suli, that's been around the traps for a little while now. You had Valentine Holmes, one of the
mm,
best centers in the game, still up there. He's still playing some really good footy out there. Even Cole Flanagan, he's been around multiple different clubs. He's touched the Roosters system. He's been around some good systems there, obviously coming from your system where he was in a bit of a down patch. But someone like him, Damien Cook, David Clemmer,
mm,
Jack DeBellin, Jaden Stewart has touched Origin. Luciano
mm,
Leilua has been around the traps for a while. It just a team like that with that amount of experience, especially with like someone like Damien Cook, David Clemmer, and that should be able to figure out a way to ice out the game. And I don't want to put it on Gutho either because I thought Gutho's performance was incredible, but
mm.
just I think there is a little bit of the Dragons trying to find themselves now with like Ilias and Flanagan and halves and probably trying to ice those games. But defensively, you gotta hold this Parramatta Eels side a little bit out that has
Mm.
struggled to score points for pretty much majority of the season up to this point.
Yeah, it just shows that it is about your defense. Parramatta didn't do much different to what they did to us, and it's the fact that they could put tries on a weak Dragons team compared to
Yeah.
a weak defensive effort from the Dragons team, as opposed to what they did to us, which was not a lot. So Dragons just got to be better. They've got to be better defensively. They clearly can score points, and Gutho's got a lot of points in him, but he can't be up in that front line doing everything for him, making tackles. So rest of the team's got to pull their weight, I guess.
And talking about performances that left a lot to be desired there too. But again, another incredible game and a late try to end it. The Canberra Raiders getting over top of the Cronulla Sharks 24-20. This game was absolutely everywhere. I thought that Canberra pretty early on set the tone. Matty Nicholson obviously crashing over, just breaking a lot of tackles. Then the Sharks seems to answer with Horodi. Britton Akota had a couple of tries there where one of them was of just a beautiful run by breaking a couple of tackles, a little bit of like bit everywhere there. Then the second one, the ball bouncing everywhere, just landed in his lap in the end of the day. Other than that, the Sharkies didn't really show their full prowess, especially in attack. They got players like Adam Fanor-Blake and that had a good statistical game overall, but unable to find, those areas to strike, maybe on the scoreboard or, Nico
Mm.
Hines with these players outside of him, like even Braden Trindle in this game didn't really fire a shot. The Sharkies at the moment, where are you kind of sitting with them? Like, they struggle to really shake that for me at the moment, like a soft underbelly tag or a pretender
Mm.
tag, or, the Manly Seagulls got caught with that a couple of seasons ago. Remember when they ran into the finals and they got called flat track bullies pretty much.
Mm. Mm.
Are the Sharkies in that same sort of mold for you at the moment? Or do you think that just over the year they'll continue to grow and they'll probably get over the top of this sort of tag that they're carrying right now?
They've been carrying this tag for 4 years now, the Sharks, where you look at their team on paper and you go, this is it. And it's kind of like everybody in that team is waiting for somebody else to do something. Nobody's taking hold of the game. They're not all on the same level. They're all got different things in their mind. It's not either one guy carrying the team or everybody chipping in. It's just everyone's kind of waiting around for him to do something. And you get these random patches of individual performances, you know, your Jesse Ramians, your Eros, your Nicaras, your Ads. Other than that, everybody else is either doing a lot or nothing. And it's a bit all over the place. And I don't understand what their problem is either, because on paper, you would sit them there and go, yep, favourites for the NRL comp right behind Melbourne. But we've seen a couple of losses in a row now. Maybe they're low on confidence. I don't know, man. I couldn't tell you there either. I don't think the answer is to get rid of Nico Hines, but I definitely think there's something going on there to the point they need to figure something out and say, you're taking control of the team, Hines, or Trindle, you're taking care of the team. There's no dominant half there. They're both kind of just waiting for the other one to do something, and we don't see that work too often.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head in a way that, like, I think the Sharkies are that side where they're just waiting for someone to take the mantle instead of just doing it all together and just becoming a team unit and just doing it together, right? Like, touching on some of the stats that I'm just looking at here, Adam Fanor-Blake, as I touched on before, incredible statistical game. 213 run meters in this game, 102 in post-contact meters, which is fucking mental. But then you look at the rest of the Sharkies pack. You got, Oregon Kafusi, only 81 meters in this game. Britton Akota with the 2 tries that he scored, but only running for 54 meters in this one. Cam McGuinness, a decent little effort there, 111. The only other guy to get over 100 is Thomas Hazelton, but Rudolph with 34 with 3 runs. And then Tapua with only 71 meters. Like, it looks like Ads just eating up all that. It very much is like one of those things too, where Ads is having an individual performance, but the team isn't not like, elevating to his level and playing towards that. That's what I kind of worried about. Like, I know with the Warriors, when we lost Ads, it was kind of like very sad. We lost such an incredible individual talent, but there was a lot of times last year where it did feel like just throw the ball at Aden and let him do everything instead of everyone else elevating around him. Where I felt like when we have Fish coming over this year, it was like everyone else has just elevated their game to fill in the boots of Adam Fanor-Blake. And the Sharkies are now carrying that sort of thought at the moment of, you got just a juggernaut in the middle that's trying to set the tone, 212 meters, but everyone else is kind of taking a back foot step and just been like, all right, he's got that sorted. Let's just try to, I think they need a really good team effort to get over the top of things like this. And I think a lot of that also, as you touched on before, unfortunately, Nico, he's just in this moment now where he just can't shake all the rumors, all the talk around him of people critiquing his game week in, week out. And I feel like he's actually carrying those into games to where he's actually having poor games. Like, the more you talk about something, you're going to talk it into existence. And there's moments where he does talk into it in existence.
Yeah, a bit like Luke Brooks when he had to leave the Tigers.
Yeah, very much so. And I don't know how the Sharkies go back to his Daly M year. Like, do they need him to be the, like Moylan was his foil? Like, does Braden Trindle take too much off his play a little bit too much, or do you prefer Braden? I don't know. There's a lot of talking points around the Sharkies there.
Well, the only time I see Braden Trindle have a good game though is when Cronulla's winning by 20. And that's not shitting on Braden Trindle, but like, I see the Sharks. Like, I never see him grind a game back for the Sharks to win. And I could be wrong. I could be just over-exaggerating here and just being reactive to the situation. But I can kind of say that about the Sharks in general, to be honest. The guys don't look like they have a good game unless they're winning by 20, as opposed to when it's a grind. The Sharks don't like to grind. So it's not even just Braden Trindle. I think it's just the Sharks in general.
Which is so weird for a club that, like with Craig Fitzgibbon as a coach, he well known for back in the Roosters being that grindy player. Like, he was, Origin representative, just an incredible player that they have. I kind of agree with you. They don't really look like the Sharkies when they look incredible. It comes off their back line just doing some individual brilliance. Like, let's talk about the Rabbitohs win. Ronaldo Mulatalo having a lot of big individual moments in that game. And then the Sharkies, as soon as they feel like, oh, we're up in momentum, then they're wheeling and dealing. Everything's going incredible. But, when someone punches them in the mouth, it's kind of as we just touched on before, like with this whole pretenders tag or the soft underbelly, when someone punches them in the mouth, they struggle to really fight their way back into the contest. Sort of very similar to what Manly's probably struggling with at the moment as well.
Manly, the Broncos in previous seasons. Yeah, whereas you got like Canberra,
Yeah.
doggies that you know that they're always just going to keep coming. They're just going to keep being there. And yeah, it's sad because you see how well it's not sad. I don't give a fuck about other clubs, but but you know, just you see them on paper, man, and you see that they should be winning majority of the games, and they're just not.
Yeah.
And it's normally the close contests that they're losing. Um, Whereas like you won't really see the Sharks win by 2 or 4 much. You will see them win by 20 or they're losing.
Yeah.
It's kind of what the story is telling us this year so far, that nothing has changed for Cronulla. They've still got that soft underbelly, as you said.
Yeah, really, really frustrating if you're Sharks fans out there. I know there's a lot of Sharks fans that get around the channel and stuff. Shout out to the ET Stand podcast as well. Been on that. There's amazing people there, but a frustrating team to watch because you're 100% right. You look at the names on paper, you're just going like these guys are just all class. But then you even think about it like players like Cam McInnes, like you think these guys are like just dogs that will get into the grind, like, Toby Rudolph, but they don't really play like those sort of names that they have on their paper. Like individually, they play like they're supposed to play in that. But as a unit, they just don't have that tag of the let's get into the grind, let's just grind it out. They really have the tag of being a side that's very flamboyant and when everything's up and ready to go, maybe do you kind of think that sometimes teams replicate what their best player is mentality wise, if that makes sense? So you look at the Dogs, I'd say, who would you say is your best player at the Dogs at the moment? It's tough to say, but it's a team thing, right? But a lot of your team is just,
Like I guess our superstar is Stephen Crichton, right?
Yeah, and like, so what's the best part of Stephen Crichton?
It's his mentality to win every contest. And funny enough, I did see an interview on this. Is the switch flipped for him when he got fended off by Will Penasini. I think it was in the grand final, Eels versus Panthers, and he lost that battle, and it gave him a bit of a reality check that you're not that good. If you don't show up ready to go, you could lose that individual battle and look like an idiot. And ever since then, he's worked on his game. He's trained hard. He's been humble, and he takes every contest as a one-on-one. So, and I think that's what the Dogs have instilled into them right now is they follow that mentality of Stephen Crichton of it's about doing your job. It's about winning your one-on-one battle. It's about being hungrier than that other guy. And I think the Sharks are missing that.
Yeah, and like you're looking at the Tigers and what they've brought over in Luai, like their club's like whole envisionment is now around Jerome Luai, and what's Luai's best asset is his competitiveness, right?
It's competitiveness, and he's an underdog, and that's what the Tigers are playing like. They're playing like underdogs. They're playing like they want to win. They're playing like they got something to prove. And you're right, it's a copycat energy of following those guys, and that's why they're your leaders.
Yep, 100%. So hopefully the Sharks can figure it out. I kind of like, when talking about this, I kind of hate saying labeling sides this and that, or I think that sides can definitely change in those areas. But the Sharkies, they've been dealing with this for a little while now. And even with players like Adam Fanor-Blake coming to the club, I don't think these players help that sort of issue. I think they kind of just like push that issue further into existence. So hopefully they can turn it around. But shout out to the Canberra Raiders just quickly before we jump off of them. A really great game out of this one, just doing Canberra things. And a guy that I kind of want to touch on because like, I think that for a couple of years now, I've been not the greatest fan of this player. And I do think that at times he could have been overrated, but for what, he's starting to do now, I think he's matured a lot, is Hudson Young. Like a lot of the moments that he's having in games, I think he's been a real vital piece to the Raiders this season and has really been one of the key members in a lot of their big wins. Like your thoughts on his growth as a person, his growth as a player, and where he kind of sits for you at the moment? Because I know we have very similar thoughts that like a lot of people earlier on probably did overrate him a little bit, but now he's starting to really like live up to the potential in a way and really become matured in that role.
I think he just left a bittersweet taste in everybody's mouth. He had all the biting incidences, the eye gouging incidences early in his career, and he got labeled a grub because, well, that is grub tactics. That's not just being rough. That's not just trying to punish the other guy. That's straight up being a grub. So now that he's pushed that stuff aside and Ricky Stewart's got him playing that rough mentality, but clean and fairly, just physically wanting to whack the other guy, he's come so far, and I can now see why he is selected in the Blues and what those coaches and selectors do see by him. Because you're right. Normally when Canberra's winning or losing, Hudson Young's always normally having a pretty red hot crack. And his game on the weekend showed that he absolutely brained it. So hats off to him. He's proven the critics wrong, and he's proving why he has been selected in New South Wales and around that camp.
100%. And this Raiders side, like, they're doing a lot better than what I kind of envisioned for the season. They're still kind of following that same trend that I envisioned, in the way of like starting the season hot, but then they'll kind of fall off the pace. I don't think they're wooden spoon of what I first predicted to start the season. I think there's other teams that have taken that mantle now, but I think that with the side that they're building there, I can see where the future is starting to go to. I still think that, like, they're a side that now having, Jamal Fogarty and Ethan Strange as your halves, they're very, like, thinking of both those guys. Ethan Strange is a really hard worker, incredible ball runner, does a good defender. Jamal Fogarty is just a really great kicking boot and gets the team around the park. They're not going to give you anything crazy within like really good shape and strip teams left, right, and center. But I think that's a really good thing for the Raiders of what they are. They're just competitive. They'll kick you into corners. They want to beat you up, and they're going to get you into that grind fest the way they did with the Warriors, what they did with the Broncos, and now what they did with the Sharkies.
Yeah, look, they've got a really strong edge to them. The Raiders. That's how they've always been. They love the arm wrestle. They love the grind through the middle. They rely on their pack a lot, and it's not more so about scoring a shitload of points for them. It's about limiting the other team to as many points as possible with the type of physical mentality game that they do play. If you add a gun fullback or a gun half to their team that can create points, then Canberra's looking like a top 8 side again. They're looking like a top 6 side again because they've got that edge to them. They're always competitive, but they just have lacked things to stay in games or score a lot of points when they need to score points. But other than that, you always know that you're going to be in a bit of a dogfight with Canberra, at least for the first 20, 30 minutes of the game. So, yeah, they're always one of those competitive sides. I did think that they would struggle a lot more this year than they are right now. But that's just Ricky's mentality, I guess. And it's still a long season. They could drop off. And I think a lot of other teams are dealing with a lot of injuries that we didn't expect, like the Eels, the Rabbits, even though the Rabbits are still killing it. The Dolphins for me are the shock of the ones that are doing a lot worse than I thought they would as well. So, but yeah, hats off to Canberra. They always bring that hard edge. As you said, they rely on their forwards and that arm wrestle, and the rest of the guys just do their job. They're all job players. It's as simple as that. It's just a good little system they got going that works for them, but they do need something if they want to compete with the top teams.
Jose here in the chat. Which team is closer to being your choice for the wooden spoon after 5 rounds? Dolphins looking pretty mid. I think the Dolphins still have a little bit about them overall. Are you swinging Parramatta? Are you swinging or is there a smoky side that you're looking at the moment that aren't as good as what people probably believe they are?
Look, it's probably got to be the Dolphins and the Eels still after 5 rounds. Dolphins, Eels, the Dragons if they can't find consistency. Probably
Roosters?
One of those three. Nah, look, the Roosters will be okay. We still know what they're going to get back. And they'll get enough games to at least avoid the spoon. They won't finish spooners. Dolphins have been the most disappointed for me at this stage. That's their top squad. They haven't really had any injury worries, and they've dished out a few performances. They haven't really had a hard run to start the season, and they're not looking good at all. So, yeah, Dolphins, for me, probably the spoon choice after 5.
Yeah, I'm still looking at Parramatta now. Obviously I predicted preseason the Raiders. I just think that I think Mitchell Moses will change a lot with Parramatta. It's just hopefully 100%. He stays healthy and this and that. I'm looking at other sides the Roosters have been really dour to start the season, but you're right. As soon as Sam Walker comes back and probably reinvigorates, and to be fair with the Roosters, they've held in and been very competitive for probably about 60 minutes of each and every game they've been in. It's just they can't finish anything. They really can't finish their dinner. They get themselves into positions. They just cannot put the icing on the cake. But I don't know. I'm just looking at Parramatta, even within just defensively, they just leak a lot of points in that. I think the Dolphins for me, I think that they still just have these players that I feel like they can have those moments and really turn contests around, the hammer and stuff like that. I can kind of see the point though with a young halfback of Isaiah Katoa. If anything does go wrong, does his mentality shift a little bit? Can they fall a bit and get a wooden spoon? But at the moment, I'll probably still tip the Parramatta Eels until I see something a little bit more different, because I do think a lot of what's been happening is they've been really getting up to get their first win of the season. What happens now this week coming? Do they back it up? Do they back up the next week, right? And you could probably say the same thing about the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, it's just, to me, the Eels have something that's going to change the way they've been playing, whereas the Dolphins don't. They got no excuse on injury, whereas the Eels have a bit of an excuse of the injury of Moses. So,
yeah. Sweet. Thanks for the question there, Jose. Moving over, we'll touch on the Penrith Panthers, probably one of the bigger talking points coming into this week. Going down to the North Queensland Cowboys, 22-18, a couple of bomb tries to really, finish out this game to not make this a bigger contest, a closer contest overall. Still a very close contest there, but your thoughts overall on the Penrith Panthers, bro? Because shout out to the Cowboys, incredible little win here, going back to back and all that. But I think the biggest talking point is the Penrith Panthers. And my question to you is Penrith tired? Are Penrith unsettled not being at Penrith Stadium now? Or, are they finally hurting from all the players that they're losing? Has there been one too many key players that have been pulled out of their lineup now for them to recover or what they are? So where are you kind of sitting with Penrith?
it's a bit of all of the above, brother. The short preseason, after short preseason, the loss of their players, and to add to that, they've had Edwards and To'o and Cleary in and out of the lineup in these 5 games as well. So it's not like they've just lost Luai, Taruva, Fisher Harris. It's lost the disruption to those 3, missed a couple of games each this year as well. And you can't be the best forever. It's as simple as that. Other teams are going to continue to improve. They know what they need to do to catch the best. While they get better, the Panthers, unfortunately, are just getting weaker because they do get drained. But they will be back. They're one pass away from winning that game on the weekend, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. And on the Cowboys, well, good job for them turning it around. But I've seen a little TikTok in the last 3 wins that they've had. They've been one pass away where a guy should have passed to their support player to score a match-winning try over them in the dying minutes, and they didn't pass. They dummied, and Drinkwater made the try-saving tackle. So, yeah, Cowboys could be 0-5, but here we are.
Yeah, well, that's Rando's TikTok, I think you would have seen, right? Rando's stats guy. Shout out to him and all that, the Cowboys. But I'm kind of with you, bro. I think it is a combination of all those things. Like, we touch on tiredness, as you said, short preseasons. We got to remember all these guys are pretty much, majority of them are representative players now. So, like, even players like Casey McLean came off the back of a Pacific Championship game. Then he was a rookie coming into this year, right? Like a younger player coming into first grade. And Nathan Cleary having a lot of injury, Brian To'o having injuries and stuff. Like, these guys have had unsettlement after unsettlement. Touching on unsettlement, Bluebet Stadium being taken away from them this year and going to CommBank. Unfortunately, for a side that's gone like close to, where they're going 4 in a row, going for 5 in a row, just their fan base at the moment, like, you'd think that they'll just go to CommBank and really fill out. I'm not too sure the real distances of being in, obviously, Brisbane as we are. We don't really understand like how big of a distance it is to travel to go to CommBank, but if it's anywhere close, you'd think that the Panthers fans would go out there and support. I think that they feed off that a little bit as well, like for as what they are. And I don't want to really say that that's really the issue, but I think that doesn't help at all. And I think there was a similar point brought about the Titans, listening to the Bloke in a Bar podcast, where Jamie Soward was saying, it's like, the Titans have this incredible stadium at the Gold Coast, and just like their fan base, like whether like there's some like really incredible fans that they do have, but they just don't have enough of them just to go out and fill out that stadium and make their team feel loved. So they just feel inconsistent over times, and you feel like you can take over. You can go over there and take over Seabus. Is there a similar sort of thought? You can go to CommBank and really take over CommBank against the Penrith Panthers fans and really get on the back of that.
It might be a travel. I'm not too sure, as you said, but I think it definitely is the fact that Bluebet Stadium there, you're a lot closer to the action. You'd feel like the fans are on top of you, and you'd feel like, I don't know, it's probably something to do with memberships as well. Like if you get a Bluebet Stadium membership, you get your seat that's a lot closer every year. Whereas a lot of fans have probably gone, I don't want to go to CommBank all year. Didn't really renew their membership, so they're only going to go to the one-off game here and there instead of the same fan in that same seat every week sort of deal. And then the noise probably gets lost a little bit there at CommBank when it's not packed out for your team. They're not they're not showing up. Maybe that's to do with it, but maybe it's also just the fact that they're getting used to a new ground instead of the one that they've been dominant on for the last 4 years. Because
Yeah.
that's the big thing as well. They train there week in, week out, and now they're not doing that, and they've got to come up with a new home ground advantage.
Yep, 100%. And lastly, touching on the losses that they've had, Jose got a really cool question in the chat here. Who is the bigger loss after what you've seen, Jerome Luai or JFH? And I think you can give a good argument to the two, but I want to throw it to you first. Like, who you think is a bigger loss here at the moment? We'll touch on it. Critter, I feel like it's a bigger loss that a lot of people are probably forgetting about as well. But out of those two,
I think he's just meaning from last year to this year.
Yeah.
Look, both, but I'm going to say James Fisher-Harris just in the fact that their defense has lost that edge to they would suffocate you. They would drag you into deep water. They would thrive off the kick chase and really pin you down in your end. And I think that was led by James Fisher-Harris a little bit. And that's not saying Luai's not missed, because obviously Cleary being out a couple of games and their attack hasn't looked as good either, but defense wins games. And I think James Fisher-Harris is more important to their defensive strategy.
Yeah, it's like, it's a good argument because, like, again, I don't want to be biased, but, like, I think James Fisher-Harris is a major key piece taken out of that side. Like, you think of the Penrith Panthers, their forward pack, like, their talisman was JFH. Like, Leota was the incredible brother. The Bash brothers, they were a duo that played incredible, but I think a lot of people, the talisman of that whole thing was the New Zealand captain of James Fisher-Harris and what he brought. And when you look across the field and you see James Fisher-Harris and Leota, you're a little bit more scared than you seeing Lindsay Smith and Leota in a way. So I think that's taken away a little bit, and you're right. Like, all those little effort areas is what Fisher's kind of bringing to us, is what, like, the Penrith Panthers, not to say they're losing at the moment, but they're trying to recollect all the things that they've lost in that area. But I'm swaying the way a little bit of Luai in the fact of, I think that there's been a couple of times this season where, when they lose Nathan Cleary, they go to Jack Cole and that, and they've had decent little performances here and there, right? But I think that with the connection of, Cleary and Luai, just because they've played together for such a long period of time, I think that little piece on the opposite end on just firing those last shots to get the team over the top of the hump, I think missing Luai is a big key piece to that. And again, defensively, there's been a lot of good defensive moments from Luai this season. I think there's a lot of people out there and saying Luai's not been that big for the Tigers this season, but he's been fucking huge for all the little areas that people probably don't see. They don't read the stats and see try assists, right? But they see in our game, right? We're coming home. We had a lot of good momentum to come home after the Lecker try, and I think it was after the Lecker try. Jerome Luai hit Mitch Barnett, caused Mitch Barnett to spill the ball over, turn the ball over, but the Tigers weren't able to do anything with it. There was a game, I think, against Newcastle where they made the break and Luai jumped over the top and punched the ball out of someone's hands. Like, all those little efforts that he has builds up over time, and I think the Penrith Panthers are missing both those pieces in a way, and they're both just as good, but I think I'm edging Luai mainly on the attacking end as well. I think he gives a little bit more in that sort of factor as well.
Yeah, 100% fair arguments. It's a combination of both, 100%, but you can make an argument for both, and I think if they have either one of these players still playing, they would be doing a lot better than they are at the moment.
100%. But Penrith, like, we both agreed, they'll probably get back over the hump. Like, I think they're too good of a side to be sitting the way they are. And as you said, they've been a couple of passes away from getting a couple of wins. Even the Roosters win, they were one pass away from getting back in that game and possibly winning that game as well. So they could have easily been on a different side of the ladder, but at the moment they've taken those losses and they just got to learn. And I think this is a scary thing for the competition. They haven't been like this for a little while now. They got to rebuild themselves in a way. But with all the stuff that they know before and what they're going to build themselves again, I think they could come in with a harder edge than what they had before as well. So shout out to the Panthers to see what they can do.
Yeah, they'll bounce back for sure, brother.
100%, bro. Quickly touching on Latrell's return there, brother, too. I didn't chuck this on the run sheet, but I thought I'd just chuck it in there quickly before we jump over to the Melbourne Storm and that. Latrell Mitchell getting back into that lineup, playing center. Your thoughts overall in his game, the game-winning try assist as well. Your thoughts around his return?
Yeah, NFL contract incoming.
Nah. You calling that pass forward, Brody?
Nah, bro. Nah. Look good to me. Nah, look, obviously just big effect being back in the squad, but nothing special. It was a performance where he did what he needed to do to help them win, but, it was the one big moment we've seen from him. Other than that, it was just control with the kicking game, but he put a couple out on the full, and I don't know. It wasn't as cracked up as everybody's making it to be, in my opinion. It was the try assist that kind of saved him. Otherwise, it would have been not a great return and it wouldn't have been talked about half as much. But good to see him back. He's great for our game. Don't get me wrong. And he is, on his day, very damaging football player and one of the best to do it. So let's hope he can find that form again. And I don't think it will come with him playing 6, but he's obviously putting that burden on himself to try and help the Rabbits out in this time of injury. So, yeah, shout out to Latrell for being back. But, yeah, I don't think it was as cracked up as it needed to be after all the articles came out saying he's the best in our game. And I'm thinking, are you kidding? But, yeah, it's good. It's good to have him back.
Yeah, it's good to have that imposing figure back in the game. Like, you know, he does just pull off these special moments like here, game in, game out in a way. But I think for the Rabbitohs to continue the way they are, and like it's good to see they built a base. So like they built a really good hard edge. So when Latrell comes in, he can add those little added pieces to, you know, help out the Rabbits in their run, hopefully to make the 8 this year. But you know, the thing with Latrell as well is like we want to see this consistently over time and consistently to drag the Rabbits to where they need, because they do need it. Like, you know, they've been performing really well. They've been grinding out a lot of contests, but I think just for them to make the 8 this year, it's going to take like Latrell Mitchell to be on week in, week out, and just to have these special moments like he did in this game in a way.
Let me ask you something. If you were to think at the start of the year, who would be leading the Daily M after 5 rounds? Would in a million years you'd pick a guy that's played how many NRL games last year? 4? We'll say 4.
I wouldn't be able to pick him at all, bro. Not even get close to it. Like, you know, Jai Gray for what he's been doing, especially the size of the man. Like, I love his effort week in, week out.
Shit, Ash. You
size
should know that by now.
We all know that, bro. We all know that, but that's still
the size
like,
of the dog. It's the size of the fight in the dog, brother.
It's all about the motion in the ocean too, brother. We all know that, right?
Exactly.
Right? Nah. Bro. Nah, shout out to him, bro. Like, incredible effort on effort. Like, he's just a player that looks like he just competes on everything. You know, his stats just out of this world. For him to be leading the Daily M by this point of the season as well, with Latrell even coming back, I'll be so dirty if I'm Jai Gray, right? And I get to this point, and then like a little bit later, like Wayne goes, "I'm sorry, mate, Latrell's our fullback," and then he just loses Daily M from here, right? But
no, I don't think no matter what happens, I don't think Wayne will do that to him. If he's leading the Daily M and these guys have their players come back, he has to find a spot for him. And I think Wayne wouldn't take that opportunity off the young guy. He would leave him there until he either starts playing bad football or an injury. And let's hope that doesn't happen. That'd be amazing if this dude took out Daily M in his second year, not even second year, his first full year of NRL.
Yeah, it'd be absolutely incredible. And shout out to him, bro. Like, you know, as we continue to say, like, I think the best thing you can ever say to a player like that is just like, he's a dog, man. Like, he's just week in, week out. He's going to compete on every effort. And he's just a different player to Latrell. Latrell is that Ferrari that's going to pop out of the garage every so often and just show off and look incredible. And like, shout out to Latrell. That's the player he is. Like, he's incredible for that, right? But then you got like the Toyota Hilux. You could probably say it's a low lux, right? It's not the Hilux. You're not talking about the 2-inch lift big boy out back. You're talking about the low lux, bro, that we used to do skids out of Beachmere with. You know, we're talking about the low lux, bro, that continues. It's still going too, right? Your little Hilux.
Still going, brother. Yeah, I nearly had to drag it out of the old boy's place the other day when my car was a little bit down. So
Jai Gray is the Toyota Hilux, the low lux, you know, of the NRL, and he just keeps going and going, and hopefully he continues on. And to your point too, like if we're looking at the players that we thought to start the season, like we said, Tom Trbojevic, Nathan Cleary, Cam Munster, you'd probably say Kalen Ponga.
Yeah, Nico Hines, Kalen Ponga, Ryan Pappenhausen, those type of guys.
You're not even bringing up anyone with the name with J, right? Like you're getting really far down to get Jai Gray there, right?
100%. So shout out to the young fella. We're rooting for you. We really are. Being non-Rabbit supporters, it's outstanding what you're doing for the game, brother. And to hold somebody like Latrell Mitchell out of his preferred position, it says a lot.
100%, bro. Jazz just jumping into the chat as well. I thought I'd click on this pretty quickly because we are planning this. But Ash, are you going? You guys planning to go to the Dogs versus Warriors game at a core stadium in 23, brother? You want to answer that question?
We booked our flights this morning.
That we did. So we will be down there, guys. If you want to come say hello and all that. If you are out there, Jazzy, come say hello. And I'm keen for catch up with you boys. And Hopefully, Brody hasn't put us in the dog section.
We are definitely in the dog section with my doggies membership. So Ash will be bashed.
Honorary doggy fan for the night. No, I will not do that to the boys. I'll be out there. I'll be getting bashed out there at Core Stadium. But any Warriors fans that want to come save me, please come save me. But no, I'm really, really excited for that. Quickly, we'll touch on the Melbourne Storm getting their really big win over the Manly Seagulls, 48-24, flexing a little bit of premiership muscle again after a loss against the Dragons. Is there any worries about the Melbourne Storm currently at the moment in this season? Like I kind of touched on, you know, Ryan Papenhuyzen with a couple of niggles, Jerome Hughes with a broken hand coming back the way he did, Xavier Coates coming off a little bit earlier in this game with a couple of niggles as well. Defensively, they are leaking a little bit of points late on in the game, but I think they do close out games fairly well. 48-24, you can't really complain about that, right?
I don't think they need to worry too much about the niggles. They've got plenty of cover. You know, we've seen Grant Anderson come in late, do a job, score a hat trick. We've got the super sub, Tyrone Wishart, that can play anywhere. So I think the niggles are more so just a precautionary. When you got the luxury and you got the games wrapped up, why not bring your stars off? I would be. Bellamy's smart to do something like that. I think the only thing they need to worry about is, their defense needs to be tightened up a little bit. You know, we've seen them leak a fair few points to a team in the Panthers who lost Cleary in the first 7 minutes, then losing to the Dragons due to not having good defense. And then, on the weekend, still struggling a little bit late there in defense against Manly. So that's what I'd be worried about, not so much the niggles. The niggles they can cover. And I think Bellamy's just managing that smartly.
Yeah, 100%. Shout out to them. Always continuing on with their premiership campaign this season. I think a lot of people had them as a top tip this year. You're not wavering from that just yet?
Nah, not yet. I'm not getting overly excited on the doggies. Look, I'd love to say it, but I'm superstitious as well. As soon as I start thinking we've got a really good chance, we'll fucking shit the bed. So we'll wait.
We may as well talk about your game, bro. 5-0 start to start the season. A good win over the Newcastle Knights, 20-0. I would say just with the players that you have out currently out of your roster, I know Newcastle came in with a couple of outs in their roster as well, but the doggies, you know, obviously not falling for the second year syndrome that a lot of sides had dealt with, obviously, you know, coming after the big boom season that you did have. Grinding out contests, defense is just pretty much the name of the game for you guys, and you're just choking the life out of every side that you come up against.
Yeah, look, very, very happy with the performance. Very patient performance, and I like that. I'm glad we didn't panic and attack to worry about putting points on. We just stayed to our system and we knew it was going to come. You know, we really broke the Knights down. Unfortunately, they had a couple of injuries and people will have that question mark over it. But nonetheless, it was still a very strong, strangling performance. And we just stuck to our game plan of we're just going to come over with you at the 80 minutes. We're just going to keep chipping away, and you guys aren't going to be able to take it. Sure enough, straight after halftime, the Knights stayed in the dressing shed for a little bit longer than expected because they're probably tired. And the doggies scored pretty straight after halftime, and it just started to look in our favor from there.
Yeah, 100%. And there's one thing I want to touch on too. Like, it's going to become a little bit of a rant, but this is one thing I kind of do hate about the competition in a sort of way. And I kind of understand it because attacking football is incredible, right? Like, we'd love to see a side do a full, like, you know, we'd love to see Sean Johnson whack City blokes and throw, like, you know, 20-meter cutout balls and stuff like that. And, you know, when people see attacking sides do that sort of style of football, people go, like, that team is on, like, they're on fire at the moment. Like, you look at the Melbourne Storm, they're going to put 50 points on the team and everyone's like, they're playing to their potential. Whereas hearing a lot of things of like the doggies at the moment, and I believe it too, like the doggies aren't playing to their potential yet, but like, why is it that when a side plays the way the Dogs are playing now, where it's good footy IQ, it's incredible football of like just choking a side out of the contest, but we still get asked questions is like, is this a game of just shit attack or, you know, just really good defense, or, you know what I mean? Like those questions always get asked. And I think you've been like, I've heard a lot with other podcasts as well as with the Dogs, is like when their attack gets clicks into gear, they'll obviously take a whole new level, but why can't we fall in love with what they're doing right now, what they're building for the season, and understand their attack will come, but they're playing incredible football right now. Like, this is incredible football, what they're doing. You know, attacking football is incredible, but defensive football is incredible as well, and it wins premierships.
It's playing finals footy every game. Every game in finals, you'll never see a scoreline 40-16 or something like that. It's all about your defense and how you show up. So if you're practicing that all year where it's like a defense first mentality, that's going to take you so far into the finals, in my opinion. It doesn't matter how many points you score. If the other team scores more points than you lose, right?
Yep.
It's about if you can score 1 point and you can hold the other team to 0, you're winning that game. So that's
Yep.
all that matters, right? Is about how many points you can limit the other side to. Means you only have to score a certain amount of points to win the game. It's pretty straightforward, if you ask me. Why would you focus so heavily on attack and waste so much energy going into attack when you're just going to let a try and then and the perfect example I've seen was the Dragons. They took
Yeah.
the 2 points on the weekend straight after to go to a 6-point lead after 25 minutes of the game, and then straight away drop the ball on their next set. Parramatta score. It's now back to an even game.
Yeah.
It's not a very smart mentality when you can't defend, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So defense is so important, and if you can hold the team to 0, you only need to score 1.
Well, my last example of this, bro, is like, when we're looking at sides that a lot of people say have all the potential in the world to get into top 8s and stuff. Like, you look at a bottom 8, bro. If I read out a couple of names and you're going to say who's got the highest potential out all those, like how many people get excited over this is a team inside the 8, but the Gold Coast Titans? Like how many year in, year out, I always hear the argument of like the Gold Coast, when they get it together, they'll be a top 4 side. But when they play their incredible attacking football, everyone's like, oh, here we go. Their players are unbelievable, but they've always had defensive issues. They've always have, and they've never really fixed it up. But it's just like when you look at a side of the Dogs, everyone goes, the team on paper is not good enough. It's like, well, they are good enough. It's just like they play a different style of football, and that's what makes them incredible, right? If you're going to get what I'm saying, like you look at the Cowboys that are so up and down, so inconsistent. You look at their team on paper, everyone's will be like, oh, there's so many good players. They got so much potential only because they attack so well in other games, but they can't defend. Like they struggle to defend in moments and they become inconsistent. Like when are we going to change our mentality to where you're seeing a good defensive performance and say like, they're just as good as every other person? Like my argument to this as well, before I jump over to you is, when we talk about the best edge back rollers in the league, and I know Liam Martin's not having the most incredible season this season, but when we touch on the best edge back rollers in the league, I bet you the first names that everyone comes up with is Eli Katoa, Britton Nicola. We'll talk about Angus Crichtons of the world, who's an incredible defender as well and all that.
Yep.
But Liam Martin always gets left out of that conversation. But Liam Martin has the 4 rings on his finger.
100%.
So like this whole thing is like, when do we start like really appreciating defensive football in a way of like saying that they're hitting their potential, they're playing incredible football, the attack will come, but like, why can't we just be in awe of a defensive side in a way? And why is it always a question of like, well, they haven't beaten a big side yet when you have beaten the Sharkies, that sort of thing?
I couldn't tell you, brother. They just got to find something to critique. And those teams you touched on, Cowboys, Titans, they play so high risk, high reward. So, they might either score an 80-meter try or they're dropping the ball and inviting the other team onto their end. Whereas the Doggies will play such a patient footy. It's just about completing your sets and just being the better squad that can go game for end-to-end footy and wait for their crack and capitalize on that crack. And to me, that is exciting. It's a game of tennis. You're playing back and forth until the one dude makes a mistake and then you capitalize. That's how the Doggies are playing their footy, and it's to me just as exciting, if not more exciting, because they're making you pay in defense. It's not just boring defense either. It's not like this wrestle shit. It's fucking get whacked and stay whacked. It's driving back and tackles. It's all those little things, the line speed. It's suffocating teams out of making 20, 30 meters. We've seen a team that was getting raved about to be the best back 5, and the way that they run back out of their back 5 and bring meters on a kick return in the Sharks do absolutely nothing to the Doggies.
Yeah.
So
like, I think a lot of what I'm saying is projection as well. Is like, I've just been hearing for the last, like, obviously last year the Warriors having a down year and that, but a lot of people just saying we play boring football. And there's like the envisionment of what we're trying to do is very similar to what you guys are trying to do, is play defensive style football, smart footy IQ football, and the attack will come over the time. Like the Penrith Panthers didn't start off as an incredible attacking outfit. They started off as a really good defensive outfit and added their pieces over time to where they end up having probably their best attacking year the last 2 seasons of the last 2 grand finals that they've had. But I've had this argument that many times with Warriors fans and stuff, where it's like, where's the flair? Where's the flamboyance and the size? Like, if you want to be the side that everyone goes every year and goes, they've got so much potential, they'll be there one day, more than likely you're the attacking side of the competition that can throw incredible cutouts and strip teams left, right, and center, but can never finish it at the end of the day and win premierships. I'd rather be the side that gets excited to watch a team just absolutely belt every other team that comes up against you, have that hard edge, stick into a contest, leave me at the end of my seat and go like, we can beat these guys just over time. We'll wear them down and we'll come home with the victory. Like, I love that style of football, and I don't think that gets appreciated enough.
Well, it's playing 80-minute footy as well. You know, it's not playing 20 minutes where you get to attack and showcase. It's playing the whole 80 minutes. And it's about being better for that whole 80 minutes instead of, like you said, that flair for 20 minutes where you're attacking. No, it's putting together a whole performance, knowing that the attack will come and you'll still have those moments. You know, and we've had those moments as well, just as well as the defense. I mean, look at what we did to the Broncos last year at Suncorp. We fucking blew them away all over the park. It's a matter of coming, and it's a matter about staying consistent. And as I said, playing 80 minutes and winning those games, not just winning the little moments of scoring a cool, fancy try that makes the highlight reel. Yeah. That's not going to win you championships.
Doggy football, bro. 5-0 to start the season. You're building that mentality, and I absolutely love it. And hopefully my boys can get up to that sort of level sometime soon, because I'd love to see a Doggies Warriors grand final sometime soon with what we are building. It'd be incredible.
It would be incredible, brother, but I would hate to have a loser.
Yeah, 100%, bro. There will be a loser when we go to Sydney that day, though.
Maybe we'll do one each, brother. Maybe you guys can have the girls or something. I don't know.
Oh, no. You can have the girls. We'll have the boys, man. We'll have the men for sure. But touching on that, bro, the incredible week that was. Let's go for our team of the week, my brother. So starting off in the fullback position, who do we have?
Oh, let me pull up my notes real quick. I went with Scotty Drinkwater.
Oh, I like it. A bit different. I went Isaiah Iongi. I thought a big win for the Parramatta to get over that hump, but love it with your end with Scotty Drinkwater, wheeling and dealing. What's your thoughts of putting him in that position?
Yeah, try assists, both sides of the field. Decent kicking game as well when he needed to, and the try save obviously on Casey McLean, even though it was more so Casey McLean bombing it. Still, nonetheless, Drinkwater made him question what to do and saved the game.
Defense, bro. He came home with the defense. That's the only thing you need to work on in his game, and he's starting to get it into his game, which is good to see.
100%. And Iongi, yeah, I could see that as well, brother. Great performance from the rookie.
All right, moving over to our wingers, bro. Who's going to get us out of our own end?
I went with Grant Anderson and Jermaine Asako.
Oh, I like it. We do have a similar one there. Grant Anderson, incredible performance against Manly's Eagles. I went Murray Taulagi with the effort that he had against the Penrith Panthers as well. But with Jermaine Asako, you've been waiting for him to hit his straps, obviously for Supercoach this season as well, and having a great game of the weekend.
Yeah, he finally got his meters up out of the back end. And then, yeah, nice little try assist there for the hammer, and a try himself to finish off the game as well. So, yeah, nice little performance. But Murray Taulagi, definitely a good shout there.
Quick little question. I heard Bloke in a Bar obviously touch on this as well. Dan Kemp was bringing up that Jermaine Asako has probably got one of the most underrated footwork in the competition. I think that he's got a beautiful right foot step and stuff. He's really got really nice footwork. Who would you say who has got the best underrated footwork in the competition? Obviously, we got Kalen Ponga, RTS, stuff like that. Who's underrated to you that has incredible footwork?
You don't see a lot of footwork anymore. With that said,
I agree. Yeah. Oh. You want me to shoot one for you?
Yeah, shoot it.
Philip Sami.
Philip Sami, yeah, I like it.
Just beats his first defender a lot of the times. Another guy is Mark Nwanga Nituase. Lek Alasima's popped up in the chat. Shout out to Lekka.
Oh, fuck, I lost it. It was there. Oh, Ethan Strange. Nice footwork. Really nice footwork from Ethan Strange there. KP, obviously, but that's not really underrated footwork, is it?
No, he's unreal. Unreal what he does. I think Scotty Drinkwater has got some really good underrated footwork. I think people are just as a passer out of the back of sets, he's good at that. But his footwork's pretty solid as well. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good question.
Now, I don't know why my camera's slowing down either. Hopefully that...
Yeah, mine's doing that as well, bro.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's seeing some better... Oh, it's back up again. All good. It's just having a little bit of a dip. Moving over to the centers of the weekend. Who we got there?
I went with Seb Chris, and I went with Kohler in a losing squad for Manly.
Oh, I love it. We got two different ones there. Seb Chris, incredible game of the weekend. He He could be like, I wouldn't say that I would see him in the Origin jersey just yet, but he's one of those outsiders people don't really think about when we come to Origin. Seb Chris, and he's having a good start to the season. I wouldn't say he's there, but he's a Queenslander. That could be a roundabouts.
Yeah, well, he's so far in the picture for center of the year, in my opinion.
Big body, moves well. He's had some big moments. And Gola, some of his like tries over the weekend. He's such a tough body to struggle against.
2 tries, 4 try assists. 4 line breaks. A lot of meters. Yeah, a lot of tackle breaks in a losing squad against Melbourne is tough. But who'd you go with?
I went with Jackson Purdue. I thought he had an incredible game over the weekend. That kid is really growing week in, week out. The other one, I went Zach Lomax. I thought that like just the performance and just to get it home for Parramatta at the end of the day with a broken foot, I had to get him in there somewhere.
You know he's back on the wing though, right, Ash?
Yeah, he is back on the wing. I'm just going to hold him in that center position, and we're doing it that way, right?
All right, Ash, I'll give it to you, brother.
I'm not putting Will Penasini in my centers of the week. I had to find a spot for him.
Fair enough.
All right, moving over to our halves of the week. Who we got 6 or 7?
Dylan Brown, Jerome Hughes.
Oh, I love the Dylan Brown shout. He definitely deserves it after the weekend that he had.
Yeah, finally hitting his straps. And that's not a lack of him trying all year, but, you know, a lot more went his way, whether he had a few guys around him that helped out. Deserved the shout this week.
I love it, bro. I love it. I went with Cam Munster after his performance against Manly. I thought he was wheeling dealing. That beautiful left foot step he put on Ola Kawatu and that to score that try. I thought he was really, really solid there. And also Jerome Hughes. I completely agree with you on Jerome Hughes. I thought that he was incredible for Melbourne, coming back with a broken hand. And just like, I love that he came back for this game and he didn't have his comeback game against us, because we all know he loves to play footy against the Warriors, right?
You know he is back against you still though, right?
He is definitely back against us, right? But he's had that week that was, and hopefully he doesn't back it up this weekend, but I'm sure he probably will. Daily
M run starts. Weekend is gone.
Yeah, well, don't start that on me, right? An honorable mention as well I want to put up there, Isaiah Katoa. I thought the incredible game that he had over the weekend. He ran for like 190 meters or something, which is like hectic.
Yeah, big run
for his passing. Yeah. So well done to him. Moving over to the prop room, talk about the run rate. Let's get the prop rooms up there.
Yeah, I think we might have similar on this one. I went with Xavier Willison and Junior Paulo.
I went a little bit different. I did. I was thinking Xavier Willison for a long period, but I went, nah, I want to go for the whole contest. I went Paddy Carrigan and Junior Paulo. I think Paddy, for a game that Payne Haas didn't really show out over in that game, I think a lot because of Xavier Willison, the game that he had with the 2 tries. Terrell May in the field, you know, Junior Fanua Bole on the field as well. They didn't have their biggest, highest ceilings of the game, but Paddy just kept doing what he did, and he did it so well.
Consistency, isn't it, brother? Just week in, week out, you know what you're going to get. It's never going to be up here. It's never going to be down here. It's just going to be right there.
Unreal. And Junior Paulo just having one of those amazing games. You know, good to see him back and he's looking fairly fit.
Yeah, he's looking fit these days, and great game, great desperation from him to get that win.
They really needed it, bro, and he came out on top for it. But moving to the hooker role, who's going to be giving these boys the pass off the deck?
It's the grub. It's Reed Marnie.
Here you go, good old Reedy. Shout out to you, bro. I went Reed Marnie as well. I thought that he was incredible. I was gonna say you could probably easily just put Harry Grant in, week out, but I think Reed Marnie's performance over the weekend probably just
trumps him. Not this year.
You weren't gonna put him? No?
Harry Grant is struggling. I wouldn't say struggling. Let's not say he's having a shit year, but let's just say
for his standard.
Yeah, let's go with that. But yeah, Reed Marnie, hell of a performance. A couple of try assists out of dummy half there. Really good kicking game when need be as well. And just the defense, you know what you're getting.
What about Reed Marnie off Timu? Riley Smith, a really solid performance that he had over the weekend too.
Brings the energy. I've got to credit him that. He just tries, competes.
Something about wearing headgear at Parramatta, mate. You just become an absolute grub, and it's just so great to see.
He'll be going the Warriors next year.
Shout out to team. We'll take him, but we got old Wade Egan, mate. The New South Wales Blues hooker for this year, mate.
Oh, that's getting ahead of yourself there, brother.
Fucking oath, bro. Just throwing that into the ether, eh? Moving over to our edge back rollers, bro. Who have we got there?
Canberra stand up. Both Canberra boys here for me in the back row.
I love it there. I love it. I went with Homole Olakawatu and Hudson Young. I thought Matty Nicholson was fairly close, but I got to give it to Homole. I thought out of a dire performance out of Manly in moments, I thought that he looked like a man amongst boys. He had some really big moments in that game.
Yeah, look, dominant performance from Olakawatu for sure. But Nicholson, he's just impressing me. 5 games into the NRL. I'm sorry, not even 5 games into the NRL. He's only 4 games into the NRL.
Yeah.
And killer performance on the weekend. That try he scored. And then there was times where Canberra out on their feet, but this dude was still taking 2 carries a set. So hats off to the young guy. He's absolutely killing it.
Yeah, incredible, bro. And I'd love to see the effort out of him, but he just looks like he's so tough to handle. Like he's got incredible upper body strength. He knows how to use his levers really well. Like he's breaking tackles for fun. This is like 3 weeks in a row that I've seen him beat the first tackle and almost score tries and scoring tries off the back of it as well. So incredible for him. And last but definitely not least, I think we probably have a similar 13 for this weekend, don't we?
Yeah, the milestone man.
The man of the moment.
The man, the myth.
I'm not continuing this on. Kurt Mann, baby.
Kurt Mann, brother. It is Kurt Mann. So good on Kurt Mann, grabbing a try there in his 200th as well after he was robbed one. 100% a knock on, but the ref was there and he should have called it himself. He sent it up as a try. The video ref had no right to take that away.
Hey, only a person will be arguing over that call is Mosley Yoda a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. But anyway, he got one in the end nonetheless.
Yeah, incredible performance from him. He's definitely been a player that you guys, towards the end of the last season, you missed quite a bit, I thought. He brings a lot of energy when you play him off the bench. I think he's just got really good timing. Do you think he has a chance to find himself in an Origin jersey this year or just being around camp?
Maybe around camp, brother, but we're quick to jump on these guys where they have a good season and we overlook the guys that have been there, done that. And you never really seen Queensland do that in their run of 8 seasons. It was never, this guy's having a good season, let's pick him over such and such. Nah, they just stuck to the guys that have been there, done that, what worked for them. And I think the Blues kind of need to just stick to similar to what they did last year unless injuries force their hand. But the way he's playing could get him into a Blues jersey, yes. But if other guys that played there last year are fit and ready, then no.
I would counter you that he's actually a Queenslander, baby.
Oh, well, either way, brother. Either way.
I know. But yeah, no, I agree with you. We do end up jumping the gun a little bit and we want all these guys to have their, we'll get them the Origin jersey. Here's you go. When we do forget about some of the big consistent performers that we have out there. It would be tough, obviously, to make either of our squads. But I think with a Queensland squad, he might have a chance of just making in the camp at least.
Well, I'll counter that as well. I don't want him to be picked because I don't want him to have that loser mentality rub off on him.
Don't you dare. Not this season, mate. Yeah, bring in Laurie Daly and see how that happens, yeah?
Look, I'm not stoked about that at all, especially his conversation about Cleary being the second best halfback to pick or some shit I've seen. It's like, shut up. But anyway.
I love to see it. I love to see it. Moving on, bro. All right, let's go through our hit of the week, our try of the week, and our egg of the week. Finishing off with our player week as well. Who is our hit of the week?
I think we're going to be similar on all 3 of these. It was a pretty quiet week for these 3 categories. And my hit of the week is going to be Cohen Hess on Cleary. Just looks spectacular.
Looked incredible. I was kind of like, I spoke to you about this at work. It was like, obviously he hit him at the perfect time. He was kicking a football. It's going to look spectacular, but fuck, that was a crunching hit too. Yeah.
Is that your one? We're similar on that one.
Yeah, that is my one as well. Other ones I want to point out, the first hit up the Broncos did against Terrell May to start the game. Brother, Terrell May got put on his absolute ass. And then it was such a big, as soon as he saw Payne Haas go this is my moment. It was a good little start to the game.
I must have missed that one. I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was first kickoff of the game. Bang, bang. Take that, baby. Moving over to our try of the week. I think this one's going to be the same as well.
Yeah, Seb Chris match winner.
You can't say anything else over the weekend. Right?
Especially when he started on that left edge following Hudson Young through. And he followed all the way over to that right edge to be there just for that pass. And it's a good thing he was because it wasn't like the Raiders were queuing up for it either. So his effort alone there won them that game.
Tell me another team in the competition that has their left side winger, their left side centre, and their left side edge back row just completely filtering over to the right hand side to finish off that try.
Probably none. Probably none. Not in that moment. Not when it was an exhausting game as well. It was so back and forth. And to still come up with that effort in the 79th minute and pull off that game winner, that's all heart.
100%. Yeah. Shout out to Seb Chris. Shout out to Xavier Savage putting the grubber into. Shout out to KO Weeks for getting the offload off as well. Just an incredible little moment there. The only other try week I was looking at that was like, it wasn't ever competing with it, but I was like, if that didn't happen, I was looking at the Murray Talangi try and I was like, that was just incredible luck, like how that all fell out. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a good try as well, for sure.
All right, we're going to go, you know what, we'll go player of the week before we go egg of the week, because egg of the week is always the biggest, funnest one that we have. Player of the week this week, who you got?
I went with Jerome Hughes.
I went with Zach Lomax due to the broken foot game-winning field goal, but Jerome Hughes is a game collective. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, you just also snuck that in there because of the broken foot, didn't you, Ash? You loving Lomax, eh?
I did. As I said, this is the game I missed over the weekend, so I rewatched on Monday. So I had my team pretty much set and all that, and I was like, I knew he had the game-winning field goal, but then I saw that he broke it before on full time, and he had to do the kickoff, and then he ended up doing the field goal, and he still ran for 180 in that. And I was like, you know what, Zachy, you get my vote this week, right?
You can have it by beating the Dragons.
You can have it by beating the Dragons, baby. But moving over to the egg of the week.
I'll let you tell this one, brother.
Do we have to put an MA 15 plus rating on this one, or
potentially?
Shout out to Chris there, but that fat fucker, Eels fan, shout out to him and getting angry at the Gutherino that got put on his face over the weekend. For those guys to even lose the game too, unfortunately.
Yeah, so he would have got the last laugh as well, but Big Boy was not happy and he was ready to throw hands.
I'm pretty sure it was his missus next to him going, oh, Gary, not again. Gary, don't.
Did anybody in the chat get to see that one? Oh, it was crack up. I think it was Gutho's second try. Had the Dragons fans in the crowd doing the King Gutho, and old grumpy man was not too happy, and he wanted to jump down 2 rows and flatten these guys.
I just loved it. It was like the first one go up with the Gutherino, the second one's doing it in front of his face, and I was like, oh brother, you can't get angry like that. But yeah, guys, man, incredible. And we've done our player of the week too. So yeah, that's pretty much all our awards of the week, brother. But you have a little sneaky question for me, I do believe.
I do. I want off the top of your head, my brother. So far, after 5 rounds, who is your top 3 signings of the year?
All right. I'll be completely honest because I've got to put my hands up on a couple of these. My first one for signing of the year, I think Terrell May's got to be around about there. I've got to put my hand up about that. Like, you know, people know that I'm very critical. Like I first thought, I was like, you know, I just don't see it, but you know, I see it now. Like incredible statistical player, just doing week in, week out. He's an incredible fitness monster. I think he's doing really good. I want to throw up my boy because I think that this guy, like, I just don't think it's been touched on a lot. And we started off the season 3-1 with, you know, really good wins there. Aaron Clark, I think he's been an incredible, like, obviously you could easily say JFH, stuff like that, but I think Aaron Clark's a really underrated one. I think he's been incredible to start the season. My third one, catching me off the top of my head. This one's tough. Maybe, I would say Jerome Luai as well. I would say Jerome Luai. Yeah, okay. I'll go Jerome Luai. I think all the effort that he's brought in, his connectivity, and what he's done to that West Tigers side, they're just competing to start the season, and I love to see it. So, but who is your 3 that you have in your head? You probably got a better one thinking about this for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I like the ones that are in the chat, so definitely throw up your top 3 in the chat as well. But for me, yeah, it's Terrell May. Terrell May is probably the signing of the year so far. It's kind of hard to go past. He's really worked on his fitness in the off season and answered a lot of questions there. Matty Nicholson is my number 2. So shout out to that answer there in the chat. You know, normally we see these England guys come over and they play solid footy, but what he's doing is outstanding at the moment. You know, he's a young fella as well, and he's really showing that he belongs in the NRL and can handle the NRL level. And then thirdly, it's Clint Gutherson, just on a solo performance on,
yes,
you know, a guy that's been thrown out by the Eels saying, you know, we no longer want you, and what he's providing and dishing up for the Dragons solely. I know the Dragons aren't traveling too well, but solely, Gutho is really killing it. So yeah, that's my top three. But you know, you can chuck out JFH, Ads, Tupanua, you know, all these guys. But yeah, they're my three standouts so far this season.
Shout out to the chat going off as well. We got Jose saying Chatty Townsend. And he got Jazz saying Morgan Harper. For Morgan Harper, that is yet to touch NRL first grade this season.
Hey, he could be killing it in New South Wales Cup. I don't think he is, but
I can't believe I forgot about Clint Gutherson. That's a really good shout. I think he's been incredible for the Dragons this season as well. But
Jamie Humphries is
a really good one. Even someone like a Lockie Hubner to fill in for Cam Murray's role, and he's done a really good start to the season. I think they've been really, really solid as well. I'm trying to think any more off the top of my head, but those definitely the big standouts. Stefano, yeah, he's definitely eased into the season. He's been solid. He's been definitely very, very solid. Mark Nwanga was last year. They brought him in last year. He's looked fairly good as well. So those are definitely big guys. Yeah, 100%, bro, 100%. All right, let's move over to the other screen here and run through the games of the week. So the first game of the weekend, brother, we have the Dolphins versus the Penrith Panthers at Suncorp Stadium. What a major game there down at Suncorp. Big ins for this matchup here. We got Dylan Edwards back at fullback. I did see a comment a little bit earlier. There's a little bit of mail going around. Maybe Dylan Edwards would miss this game. I haven't seen that yet personally, but if that is to be the case, that's definitely really sad to see because I'd love to see him back for the Penrith Panthers this week. And moving over to the Dolphins, it looks like we've got Tom Gilbert back from his suspension. I'm pretty sure he was suspended last week as well. So with those ins, brother, Scotty Sorensen back in the lineup as well for the Penrith Panthers. No Mitch Kenny in this game or Jack Cole.
Yeah, Blaze taking over.
Good old Blaze Talangi. Where are you sitting in this game, bro? Dolphins at Suncorp. Do you think they have a chance?
Yeah, nah. I think Penrith are desperate, and that's crazy to see Penrith sitting 15th on the ladder. I think the Dolphins lose this one, and Penrith bounce back. And I'm not going to say a scoreline because last week didn't obviously play out the way I thought it would. So I'm going to just say the Panthers do enough to get it done.
You know what, brother? Lucky I didn't put the house on it last week because the house would have been dead and gone.
Yeah, you would have been streaming from the underpass right now, eh?
Oh, brother, give me a couple of dollars. I need $1.
Speaking of which, what do you think of that Kia Tasman right there? I think it looks a bit beautiful, but it's a Kia still, right?
Yeah, right. Like they're trying to be a little bit of a Jeep Gladiator type look sort of thing. Shout out to that.
Nice look, but
yeah. Shout out to ad blockers that I do not have on my computer. So it'd be good to have it one day, but you get to see this beautiful car. So sponsored by Kia, we are here down unders.
Make sure you don't go to another web browser, brother. You'll be getting some other weird little ads, eh?
Yeah, bro. I'm running incognito, baby. Incognito. You won't be able to see anything. The Penrith Panthers 1-12 for me this one, brother.
1-12. 1-12. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm going 1-12. I think that's going to be a tight one. I think the Penrith Panthers at the moment are sitting in a position where they're trying really hard to win games. Sometimes when you try too hard, that's when things start to go a little bit wrong. I think they need to take a step back, get back to their football and get back to their systems, and they should come out with the win against the Dolphins here.
Do you think they're trying too hard because they're leaking too many points?
It could be a little bit of that as well. So I think that... Think of last week it was a big game for Isaiah Yeo. Was it 250 games for Isaiah Yeo? Obviously they've been on a losing streak. I think that they've just been really pushing hard defensively. They started to leak points, so they're very frustrated. And I think that's what's really coming into their game. I think that they just take a step back, get back to the basics is what they learnt before. I think they can come out with a win against the Dolphins. That's why I think it's not going to be so much an attacking game for them this one. I think they're going to really try to lock down defensively and try to win a game very similar like the Dogs and all that, like they've been doing in the past.
Interesting. I agree.
But Suncorp, bro, fast track. If it is nice and sunny out there, I'm pretty sure it's nice and sunny. So Yeah, it might be a high scoring game. Who knows? I can definitely not pick these things this season.
Nah, it's a bit up and down, isn't it?
Talk about ads on my computer. KFC. Did someone say KFC? Anyway, moving on. We got the Dragons versing the Gold Coast Titans at Wynn Stadium. The Dragons notoriously a tough beat at Wynn Stadium. Can the Titans go over there and do this one? Unfortunately, with no Tino Fa'asuamaleaui due to suspension, that is a major out for the Gold Coast Titans. But we know the Dragons can be very hot and cold this season. So where are you swaying in this contest, brother?
Well, they lost last week, so it's going to be a win this week, and that Tino suspension is fucking soft.
Yeah. We didn't really get to touch on too many of the sim bins over the weekend, and I think we will after all this because we went overs and unders.
And you missed by a long shot. I think we had 5 in the first 3 games.
I went quiet too after like the first 4, and I was like, because you're like, bro, we're getting close, and I'm like, you know what? I'm over the NRL doing this to me.
You went quiet after the first one because you've seen how soft it was of the sim binning of Hudson Young, and you thought, fuck.
You know what? I'll be honest though. As I said in the members stream the other night, I think they did get a lot better over the weekend, except for that one that they missed, which was Corey Waddell, which is probably the worst one of the weekend, and they completely missed it. So
yeah. And then it's still the argument of if it's forceful enough to get sim bin for contact to the head, it should be forceful enough to have to go off to a HIA.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree, bro, and hopefully they can figure all that shit out. But it's the NRL, mate. How much do we believe that are going to figure this shit out within a week or two?
Not a lot. But this game, Dragons 1-12 for me. Obviously, daylight savings is now over, so this game is starting at 6 o'clock for us instead of 5 o'clock. And I feel for the New Zealand fans that love to catch every game because the first game's kicking off at now 9 o'clock for you guys. That's a little bit ridiculous.
It's tough for the fans out there, and they don't really think about it too much. But I'm going definitely Dragons in this one. Wynn Stadium, home field advantage. No Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. I think that's their defensive edge gone. I think this could be a 13+ win for the Dragons.
Yep, I could see that too. Gutho's 6 try assist.
Oh, he might be a captain option this week, which I missed on Supercoach.
Yeah, look, either captain or vice captain be in the first Friday.
Person I put on captain last weekend, the Brisbane Broncos going up against the Sydney Roosters at Suncorp Stadium. 2 games to Suncorp this weekend, as there usually always is with the Brisbane Broncos. They never move away from Suncorp Stadium. Outs overall this weekend, we got Brendan Pickcorder that also got injured in this game, but also suspended. So either way, he's going to be recovering while being suspended. So shout out to Brendan Pickcorder. And then with the Roosters, Lindsay Collins doing his MCL from memory. So unfortunate for that there, but good news for Supercoach fans there of Nafahu White. He'll definitely be picking up a little bit of minutes there as well. Victor Radley comes back into the lineup here. Mark Nwangani-Tawase heavily rumored that he's going to be taking Dominic Young's spot as well. So keep an eye out on late mail this weekend, guys. And Ben Tekorda is in the reserves. I don't think we'll see him in a late move unless something doesn't happen. Marty Tapau sitting on the bench there. What is your thoughts on this game, bro? Who are you swaying to? Broncos at home?
Blake Moser into the extended bench there as well, which is interesting. But yeah, look, deja vu of round 1. We've already seen these 2 teams play this year, so I'm going to go with the Broncos still. Again, a 13+ performance because I don't think the Roosters have changed much since round 1 where they came up against the Broncos.
Yeah. And also, obviously, Hugo Savala. I thought that this didn't get named over the weekend, but it did get named. Chad Townsend has been dropped as well. 2 young halves there. It's going to be a big test for go up against the Brisbane Broncos at Suncorp, where they are feeling themselves. Katoni Staggs coming back last weekend, looking really, really strong as well. So I'm going Brisbane. I think it's going to be a 1-12 contest, though. I think that the Roosters, they're going to be really revved up to try and obviously get back on a winning form, going down a couple of weeks in a row now. But I think the Broncos will be too good for them.
I can see the Broncos winning. And yeah, you're right. I don't agree, Ash. I'm sorry. I think it's 13.
You don't agree? You think it's going to be 13+ again?
Yeah. And that's, with or without Adam Reynolds playing, because I know there's a question mark there as well.
Yeah, there definitely is question marks over Adam Reynolds. So do keep an eye out on late mail coming this weekend, guys. But I just think that I honestly do think that there's a with the Broncos right now. I still don't think they're playing their best footy, even though they're putting a lot of points on the board. And I think with a side that is coming in highly emotional, with the Roosters, I think there's the ability for them to make it a contest. I really do. I really do.
All right.
That's more wishful thinking, though, brother. That's more wishful thinking.
Predictions last week, so
yeah, the over unders, bro. Where I'm trying to I've respect for the NRL, baby. You know what I mean? Respect for the NRL, which I shouldn't have done. All right, moving over. We're going over to Perth, brother. Back-to-back Perth games here on the Super Saturday. We got the Sharkies versus the Manly Seagulls at Optus Stadium. Corey Waddell out for the Manly Seagulls after getting suspended. Big ins here, or not massive ins to be honest. Josh Aloiai, Lockie Croker has been named here. I'm guessing he's named on the extended. That is correct. So maybe we do get to see Lockie Croker back in this game, which would be great to see. The Sharkies, we have Sifa Talakai coming back in, Antique Wilton coming back in as well, bro. What's your thoughts on this game over in Perth? I think this could be the game of the round.
Yeah, so we're calling this our game of the round. I am going to go Sharkies 1-12 to finally turn it around. And since this is our game of the round, I would love to do a quick little combined 13 with you, brother, where we go and select these guys head to head to see who's got the nod over the other one.
All right, brother, let's go through it. Before we jump into it as well, I'm going to go Sharks 1-12 in this one. I think they'll get back into winning form. But yeah, let's move over. Let's do our combined 13 of this side here. Are we going combined 13 or combined 17? We want to just go 13?
Oh, actually, let's do 17. Yeah, let's just go. We're going to go like a matchup. So who are we taking? Will Kennedy, Hopewadi. Who are we taking out of the wingers? Yep.
All right, beautiful. Who are we taking? Will Kennedy or Leahai Hopewadi, baby?
I'm going to take Will Kennedy. I think he's highly underrated. I think he cops a lot of criticism for things that are a little bit over the top, I believe. Yeah. I think he does a lot of good work for the Sharks, and he's just kind of the guy that they love to blame. But I love what I see from Will Kennedy. So I'm going to take Will Kennedy in this one.
Oh, I'm right there with you, bro. I think Will Kennedy's a more experienced member out of the two here. I think Lehigh's got the higher potential, the higher ceiling overall, but still 100%. Young into his career, right? I think Will Kennedy is definitely really underrated, and I think he gets bashed pillar to post for a player that I don't think that deserves it being in the Sharks spine to be bashed for what he's been doing. I think he's fairly good. Moving over to the wingers, brother. Who have we got on both wings?
I'm going to go with Ronaldo and Jason Saab.
Yeah, I'm definitely not having Sam Stone Street after the performance over the weekend that he had.
No, he's been dishing out some average ones for sure.
Yeah, so I'm going to run with you there. Ronaldo Mulitalo and Jason Saab. Clayton Falalo, unfortunately, just still so young into his career.
Yeah, it's not a knock on him at this stage.
All right, moving to your sentence, bro. Who we got?
Jesse Raymond, Ruben Garrick. Horodi, killer performance on the weekend. Kohler, killer performance on the weekend. But these two guys been great the last 3 seasons consistently.
Yeah, I'm going same with you, bro. Jesse Raymond's going to be our consistent center. Ruben Garrick's a consistent center as well, but we got a goal kicker there. And I want a goal kicker there. Taulu Kola, I think, has probably higher potential, higher ceiling than Ruben Garrick. But, what Ruben Garrick's doing right now, experience-wise, I got to take him over Taulu Kola at the moment.
I agree, brother. I completely agree.
All right, who's our halves? Who are we going to pick here?
Well, it's 6 versus 6, isn't it? So, oof.
Tough.
Very tough. I'm going to take...
Caboolture Pride?
Yeah, I'm going to take Trindle in this one just. I've got to go Trindle in this one. Brooks has kind of just been quiet, very quiet this year, whereas at least we've seen something from Trindle. So I'm going to roll with Trindle in this one.
I'm going to run Trindle as well. Shout out to Caboolture Pride. Incredible kicking game. I think he's been a good kicking game. I think he's been in a lot of moments, but he also has had some flat spots. Lukey Brooks is yet to find that early season form of last year. So waiting to see if he can turn it up. I think it's all been DCE, and we'll touch on our halves now. Who we got?
DCE.
Yeah, I think a DCE there too. The captain. Shout out to Nico. I think of Nico. I hope Nico can get back into Daily M form, but DCE, captain. He's shopped on the market. Big man.
Still consistent as ever.
Who is our front row pairing here? I think there's definitely one standout.
Yeah, it's Ads and Takiaho for me.
Yeah, I'm going Ads and Takiaho as well. I think Takiaho, the experienced man, but he's actually been really good for the Manly Seagulls to start the season, I believe.
Yeah, look, I was a little bit excited when there was rumors that we got him last year, which never really came true. So, but good to see him doing well back in the NRL, and Manly's picked up a bit of a gem there.
I think we're going to agree on the number 9 too.
Yeah, look, no knock on Jazzy, but he's been solid for Manly this year. But it's Blake Brayley for me.
Yeah, it's definitely Blake Brayley for me. Moving to edge back rows, bro. Who are we going to have as our dual edge back rows?
This one's a little bit tougher than the eye looks because Teague Wilton's been incredible for the Sharks, but it's Nikora and Olakau'atu for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Teague is definitely an underrated soul that they have out there in Sharkies. Runs a beautiful line, gets through all the tough stuff. But Olakau'atu and Britt Nikora, just both physical freaks, right?
Yeah, it's hard to go by those two guys.
Number 13. This is actually a really good little battle here. Jake Trbojevic, the spiritual leader, and then we've got just a man that puts his head everywhere. Yeah, and Cam McGuinness, he's carrying about half his teeth in where?
He's front pocket, brother. You know
it. Who we got in this one?
Fuck, now I want to kind of push Gerbo up to the front row, but that's not the rules. So we're going to go, I'm still going to go with Cam McInnes, though. I think he's been killer this year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it was Jakey probably about 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I think I would have Jakey, but right now, Cam McGuinness is working real hard for his side, so it's great.
Yeah, he's working really hard. And Jakey's just kind of flying under the radar so far this year.
Yeah, definitely. Moving over to the interchange, bro. We're just going to go our best 4 interchange players. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yes, I think so too, brother.
All right, let's go. Do you prefer hooker? Do you prefer... What are we thinking? Are we thinking... first of all, we'll go with the easy picks. I think Sifa Talakai is probably the best one out of the lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having him. What do you reckon?
Oh, I wouldn't say the lot, but I'm definitely taking Talakai.
When you said not the lot, would you say Ethan Bullymore?
Yes. I think he's been fucking killer this year, Bullymore, and he brings nothing but energy. So, but yes, definitely both those guys got to be on the bench for me, Bullymore and Talakai.
Yep. So Dalakai and Bullymore. We would also go for me. I think the next cab off the rank is Thomas Hazelton.
Correct. That's the same here for me, brother.
And to finish it off, do we want a utility? Or is Sifa Talakai going to be our utility?
I'm taking Danny Atkinson.
That's what I was thinking. I might go a little bit different. I'm going to go with Nathan Brown. Just bring energy off the bench.
You just want a sin bin, don't you?
I want a sin bin, Barry. I want to see some guy go out there and elbow. So I was going to say some cunt in the face. You know what? I've just said it. You know, it is what it is. Shout out to MA15+. We brought it back.
Where's Chris at?
Yeah, where's Chris at? But that's our team of the combined 17. Not too many differences that we had there at all, actually.
Nah, not too many at all. It's pretty blanket cut.
Yeah. Shout out to the Sharkies and the Manly Seagulls game of the week. We're both going to Sharkies here in this one, though.
Correct, brother.
Shout out to the second game over in Perth. We got the South Sydney Rabbitohs versus the North Queensland Cowboys. The conditions will be fine and probably very hot over there in Perth, so I'm very excited to see this game. The big outs for the Rabbitohs here: no Cody Walker, no Jamie Humphries, and no Michele Ravalawa. So Ewan Aiken comes in on the centers. Alex Johnson comes in on the wing. Jack Whiten goes back to center. Well, he stayed center actually over the weekend. Latrell Mitchell goes to 6. Jaden Sullivan goes to 7. A lot of changing pieces there. Going up against the Cowboys side, that is pretty stock standard. Where are you sitting with this game?
It should be the Cowboys, but I'm going to roll with Wayne Bennett and Latrell Mitchell. Just things seem to happen. I think the NRL wants them to win, so I'm going to go with the Bunnies.
I'm going to run there with you too, because I think that the Cowboys have been really high for the last couple of weeks. But as you said, they've been very close to losing those 2 games as well. So I think they might dip again. With the Rabbitohs, someone like Wayne Bennett, Latrell Mitchell back in the lineup, I think they might get this one under wraps. I think it's going to be a 1-12 game for me, though.
Yeah, 1-12 for sure. Either way. High scoring, both ways.
Yes. Not a lot of defense. Or maybe a little bit. The Rabbitohs got a little bit of defense in them. Yeah, but Cowboys, yeah, I don't know. Moving over to the Darwin game over the weekend too. Parramatta having a horrible record up at Darwin, but they take the Canberra Raiders up there this year. So a Canberra side going up in there in Darwin. Going to be very interesting. Not too many changes to both these sides here, bro, after the weekend. Do you think the Parramatta Eels go back-to-back?
No, I don't, because Lomax is coming out of that team as well. So I'm going to go with Canberra to overwhelm the Eels. And despite the heat, I'm going Canberra, and I'm going to go 8+.
I would say Bailey Simonson comes in for Zach Lomax now after that news. So, yeah, good little pick up there, Brody. I did not clock that. I am going the Raiders here in a... could blow out to a 13+. I just think Parramatta just hate playing at Darwin. I don't know what it is. They just hate it.
Don't like to travel, brother.
Yeah, they're just not travelers. They need to pick it up. Moving over, talk about travelers. The Warriors traveling it over to Melbourne. Tough test, bro. This is the test of the season. This is where we find out how we're feeling, where we're sitting, if we are, finding a different sort of, if we're bringing a steel edge to our game this year. Going to be a very tough one. Rocco Berry back in the lineup for the Warriors with the Melbourne Storm. Pretty much unchanged from the weekend that was. Moses Leo holds on to his center spot, as we do see. I don't think anyone's coming in there late one. What are your thoughts on this game, bro? For me, I'll jump in first. I predicted a Melbourne Storm 1-12 a victory over us in Melbourne. I think it'll be a little bit too tough for us. And this stage of our season, we're still trying to grow. We've lost a lot of big players this season. But I think we can hold them to 1-12. I really do believe that. I think that we are a competitive side this year. I just don't know if we're good enough at the moment to beat the Melbourne Storm that are running red hot.
Yeah, I agree, brother. I can't go past Melbourne in this one after what they dished up on the weekend. Good to see Moses Leo get a crack there. He's one to look out for Supercoach now that he's going to be playing his second game this week and starting. So if he gets named in center for his third week and has a good performance this weekend, keep an eye on him for Supercoach. But yeah, look, brother, I think you guys have grown a lot and you've done really well so far this season. But you're right, this is a big test and it's still fairly early in the season. I think Melbourne will take this one.
As I said, with my luck, bro, Arsenal 3-0 win over Real Madrid. Do the Warriors knock off probably the premiership favourites of this year? We'll wait and see. And I do have a feeling about this game where the Warriors are going to shock a lot of people. I really do. You
could be right, brother. And 580 is not a bad little wicket there if you want to take it up.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. It's definitely a really good little margin there. Lastly, too, for Warriors fans out there, if you want to see my full thoughts, go over to Wise Up TV. We did All You Can Eat Warriors last night. That gives you all our in-depth thoughts overall in this game. But I also do believe that I enjoyed that we're coming off, like Melbourne's coming off of a good victory over Manly Seagulls last week where they blew them out. I think that for Melbourne to do it, replicate that week in, week out, they can do that. But I think it's a lot better than them having a loss to Manly coming into this game. They would have put a lot of effort. Well, they're going to put a lot of effort either way, but you know what I mean? Like it does lighten the blow a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. They're not coming off a loss. Nobody wants to play Melbourne off a loss.
And shout out Jerome Hughes, bro. If you want to rest a week, feel free. There's also, obviously, Luke Metcalf has had his baby. By the looks of it, he will be traveling with the side, but there could be a late little switch if there is anything there, if he does want to stay home with his baby. So shout out to him. Congratulations, Luke Metcalf. And the last man that had a baby scored 4 tries in the game. So Luke Metcalf for 4 tries.
Maybe, brother. You might be lucky.
Oh my God. See the out list on this one. The Newcastle Knights going up against the West Tigers at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. The outs we have here for Newcastle: Adam Elliott, Jack Cogger, Jack Heverington, Jacob Saifidi, and James Schiller. You really did a number over the Newcastle Knights, bro, and you should be ashamed.
Soft cunts. Before you scroll back up, isn't it amazing to think that the Knights are favourites in this one still?
That is crazy.
Looking at that out list, and then you look at that in list for the Tigers.
I'm jumping on the Tigers as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I don't know what the odds makers seen in Knights game last week to want to put them favourites in this one. They were held scoreless, and look at that out list. So go figures.
That is so hectic.
Ash is depositing the house right now into the Tigers 1 to 12.
I am. Oh, bro, I did not see that. I honestly didn't see that coming. That's crazy. You've shocked me there. Jerome Luai back into this game by the looks of it. So his shoulder injury hasn't been too bad by the looks of it. Gerald Skelton is back in this game as well. We both going West Tigers 1 to 12 with this one.
I am, yes.
I think that like Newcastle at the moment, attacking wise, just not happening right now.
It's really not. And all the errors in their game last week really rattled me to want. And, you know, you see Tyrone Thompson come into there as well. So he'll be going the 2 twins this week. But Brodie Jones up front.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Crosland into halfback. It's just a bit all over the place.
Bro, they pretty much just put Tyrone Thompson and Leo Thompson in the front row together and try to do the old twins sort of thing. And, you know, but as West Tigers see him and go like, I don't know which one it is, so I'm going to kick it that way. And maybe Leo's side, you know, who knows?
Yeah, exactly right.
But
maybe they'll just try and use a sub without anybody knowing.
We're Bella twins. Oh my God.
Jesus. Imagine that. PD twins and Thompson twins both playing.
Oh, that'd be crazy. That would be crazy. The twin matchup would be unreal. West Tigers, I think they're going to rue what happened to start the season when the Newcastle Knights had it over top of them. I think they're going to come in and want a point to prove. And I think the guy that's going to drive that home, Jerome motherfucking Luai. Jump on that 220 too. That's hectic.
Yeah, them into the Warriors, eh?
Them into the Warriors. That would be some juicy weekend. There's going to be some better that does that, I bet.
I would.
Yeah, fucking oath. All right, that is our tips for the weekend too, guys. Is there anything more that we want to touch on before we jet off, bro?
No, brother, that's all it is until tomorrow night where the fun begins.
Do you want to boast about your over-unders or what?
Nah, look, I've already rubbed it in. Ash was well off. We went a line of under 4.5. Ash, went a line of under 4.5 sin bins. And I think we had 8.
I think we had, Tarns was saying it was about 8, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 8. So unlucky, Ash. Would you like to rerun it this weekend?
No.
Look, we won't see as many because some of the clubs have got it, but are we going to go? Well, I'll set the line for you this week as over under 3.5.
Fuck them. It's going overs.
It's going overs?
It's going overs. Fuck them.
I'm going to take the unders.
And I'll bet you anything, bro, with my luck this season, it's going unders. We'll end it on that. Also, too, the over-under, I do want to leave that one for the Supercoach show with Paddy Carrigan and that. We'll leave that for that now.
Yeah, we'll leave that till tomorrow night, brother. Yep.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoy the weekend that was. If this is the only show you get to watch of us this week. Also, tomorrow night, we do have our Supercoach show. So for all our Supercoaches, which is the majority of you guys in the chat, jump over to that. Tomorrow night, the lockout, we go through our sides, our trades for the weekend, have a little bit of chat, have a bit of a laugh. Anything more we want to touch on here? Jose, Levels Network, we're glazing Foz hardcore. Hold on. This is actually a really good one. The Levels Network was glazing Foz hardcore. Is it warranted? Do you rate him? They picked him over Stacey Jones and Shaw Johnson, which is crazy to me.
In what regard? Like playing for the Kiwis?
All-time list, I'm pretty sure, from what I heard.
That's fucking crazy.
I think. So where do you sit on? But we got a little bit of time, guys. But where do you sit on Kieran Foran? I think that's where he's coming with this question.
Where do I sit him? What, like all time?
Not all time, but like your thoughts over Kieran Foran. Like, you know, do you think he's overrated, underrated? Where are you sitting with Kieran Foran in general?
Well, if we're going off what they've said about him being higher than Stacey Jones and Shaun Johnson, I'm going to say overrated. But I'm going to say fairly rated. You know, he's been in the game a long time. He's had some success, but injuries have definitely held him back. So yeah. I can't say he's underrated, and I don't think he's overrated. I think he's fairly rated for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, bro. I think that, like, for me, As a Warriors fan that has been burnt by him, obviously the Bulldogs been burnt by him, but mainly due to injuries and whatever's going on in his life in that period. And I've heard him a little bit more about it, and I kind of do feel for him in those moments. But he's a hard player. He plays with a ton of effort. He was well known for digging deep into lines, good defensively, all that sort of stuff. But I don't agree. He's not better than Sean Johnson and Stacey Jones. I think those boys had like that much talent, you know, the ability. I think the only thing that you can ever hold against them is I think Kieran Foran won that first premiership with DC that first year. I think that's right. Trying to think of that because I know that was DC's debut season. That was Sean Johnson's debut season. I can't remember if that was Foran's season as well. But yeah,
I can look into that. But thanks for pissing me off, Jose. We're about to finish on a good show.
Yeah, well done, Jose. Nah, we love you, brother. We love you. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night. I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's won a premiership. I'm sure of it, but I won't even check it. It is. We'll continue on. All right, guys, enjoy your night. We will catch you tomorrow night if you want to jump in over, and we'll probably talk a bit more about Kieran Foran, yeah?
No. Peace.
Take it easy.